RCMP had been doing its job and not covering up for him, then he would have been criminally charged. And again, he probably violated the criminal code in the SNC-Lavalin scandal. These would normally have led to criminal charges, but of course the RCMP covered it all up, and the leadership of the RCMP is frankly just despicable when it comes to enforcing laws against the Liberal government.
Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. Pretty excited to bring this video. Larry Brock is one of my favorites. He's the justice critic for the Conservative Party and a man not to be trifled with. David Cochrane's going to try, though he always does. This little hack fake reporter for the CBC is always taking pot shots at the Conservatives. Larry Brock will not be having any part of that. Let's take a look. This is going to be fun to watch.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
And joining me now is Larry Brock. He is the Conservative Justice Critic. Larry Brock, welcome to the show. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you, David. Thanks for having me.
Part of what the Prime Minister outlined today, reverse onus bail conditions for more violent crimes, allowing consecutive sentences to be imposed by judges. Policies your party has been pushing for a while. Do these measures, as outlined by the Liberals, get the job done, in your view?
They do not. These are half-baked measures, David. I've often said this at town halls right across this country. The Carney Liberal government could actually reverse every single offense in the criminal code, and we would still be in the same situation we are right now, where crime and chaos rules our streets, where families are just terrified. We have a situation where the principle of restraint, Bill C-75, is what is actually preventing communities from feeling safe, holding offenders responsible, and removing those violent repeat offenders off our streets. Until such time as the Carney Liberal government repeals the principle of restraint under Section 493.1 of the Criminal Code, this particular bill, whatever it is going to be called, is not going to make one iota of a difference. It's the same argument, David, that we as an opposition party were basically indicating to the government that C-48 would fail under similar circumstances. Right. So while police services welcomed some relief, the end result was violent repeat offenders were still being released at an alarming rate.
Right. Well, this seeks to address this in some ways while still not running afoul, it seems, of the Supreme Court of Canada, because some of the measures in C-75 on the principle of restraint, I mean, that was coming from the courts, right? That jurisprudence was saying that you can't just go with mandatory minimums and other measures. There has to be an application of some restraint there that is left in the hands of the judges. So changing reverse onus and allowing for consecutive sentences on certain offenses, the argument, I guess, today is that that will comply with the Charter and allow some relief. You don't seem to buy it.
I don't, not at all. And to your point about the government simply codifying what the Supreme Court of Canada said, the decision you're referring to, David, is the Antic decision from 2018. And in that particular decision, it was a reminder for all justice participants that the Charter applies to those who are applying for bail. We always knew that there was a presumption of innocence until proven guilty and the right to reasonable bail. But reasonable bail does not mean absolute bail. And the Supreme Court of Canada did not dictate to any federal government to make any substantive changes to the criminal code. Justin Trudeau and his Liberal government did that through the passage of Bill C-75, which is now really the law when it comes to bail applications that are heard every day, multiple times per day in this country, that every judge shall release the accused at the earliest opportunity on the least restrictive conditions. Mm-hmm. Again, this announcement by Carney today makes no reference to his intention at all of repealing that principle of restraint.
Well, reverse onus would put it obviously on the person who is charged. So I think we may need to see the actual legislation and the actual wording there. But that would seem that to qualify for the release at the least amount of restriction at the earliest possible time, the reverse onus at least becomes another hurdle they have to clear up front, does it not?
Absolutely not, David. I'm a former prosecutor, almost 20 years in the trenches doing bail hearings literally every single day. Again, it doesn't matter whose onus it is, whether it is a Crown onus or a reverse onus. At the end of the day, a judge has to take a look at a risk assessment. And if the reverse onus accused and his or her lawyer makes a case that this plan of supervision, whatever it may overcome that hurdle, it is a very, very low bar, just as it is a low bar, actually a higher bar for Crown attorneys than a lower bar for the accused on a reverse onus.
So this is not legislation, based on what we've been told so far, that the Conservatives would support. I remember Andrew Scheer saying in the summer with Bill C-5 that it's better than what we have, not as good as we want, but we'll support improvement. You do not see this as an improvement the Conservatives could support?
Well, I was actually very disappointed that the Carney Liberal government chose to vote down our Jail Not Bail Act. A provision of the Jail Not Bail Act was to repeal the principle of restraint and to replace that with the principle of community safety. It was restoring a balance in our criminal justice system where the rights of the accused are equally balanced with community safety and victim safety. That is what has been missing literally for the last 6 years since the passage of Bill C-75.
You said earlier that chaos and crime are controlling the streets and families are afraid to go out. And I appreciate there was a increase in crime in Canada for a number of years. Though if you look at the StatsCan Crime Severity Index, it's been down 30% over the last number of decades in total. It went down 4% in the past year. I mean, if we're down year over year with the occasional spike, I mean, is that really chaos and crime controlling the streets of Canada?
Well, it is, David, because the Crime Severity Index takes a look at the whole range of criminality under the criminal code. What we have been seeing consistently since 2015 is spike in violent crime, spikes in extortion alone up 330% since 2015. Homicides are up, sexual assaults are up. So while the overall trend may be that the overall crime rate is down, the violent criminality is still spiking.
Okay, I have to ask you about something your leader said in an interview he gave this week. Mr. Poilievre was speaking on a podcast. He was talking about Trudeau-era scandals, saying they should have resulted in jail time. And he had some criticism for the National Police Force. Just listen to this if you can, Mr. Brock.
If the RCMP had been doing its job and not covering up for him, then he would have been criminally charged. And again, he probably violated the criminal code in the SNC-Lavalin scandal. These would normally have led to criminal charges, but of course the RCMP covered it all up, and the leadership of the RCMP is frankly just despicable when it comes to enforcing laws against the Liberal government.
Mr. Brock, you said it yourself. You were a Crown prosecutor, 20 years in the trenches. I'm sure you worked with police and national police many times. Cover-up, despicable leadership? I mean, what's the substantiation for comments like that about the RCMP?
I'm going to let my leader's comments stand at this time, David. I understand my party will be releasing a further clarification regarding those comments.
Well, I mean, this is a public comment made by the leader of the opposition about the RCMP. I'm sure you've been in the trials that you prosecuted. You've seen defense lawyers try to use things like McNeil to impeach the credibility of a police officer by getting access to their personnel files. I mean, when a national politician is saying they're despicable when it comes to enforcing the law and saying it was a cover-up, I mean, Mike Duhem was in the senior leadership and he's the commissioner today. He flatly rejected it. I mean, are you comfortable with your leader saying things like this, sir? Again,
the leader's comments are on the record, and I'm not going to offer any alternative version of those facts.
Do you believe the RCMP covered up for the Liberals?
The leader can speak on his own behalf. Thank you.
Okay. Larry Brock, I appreciate your time. And if your leader would like to come on and do an interview on this, well, I'll be happy to put the questions to him. Thank you, sir. Enjoy Newfoundland, my favorite province in Canada. That's Larry Brock, the Conservative Justice Critic. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, David.
Oh, yeah. All right, guys, David Cochrane is hard to tolerate. He's always taking pot shots at Pierre Poilievre, just doesn't like the guy. But who is more despicable than David Cochrane? Possibly the RCMP brass, as Pierre Poilievre had pointed out, I guess we'll have to wait and see what else comes down the lines. Maybe Pierre's going to get on CBC and go head-to-head with David Cochrane. That would be a fun one to watch. Aaron, Canadian Looney, will be back with more videos. Thank you very much for watching this one. Till the next time, get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics. Ciao for now.